It is 5:34 p.m. We are opening this regular meeting agenda, this session of the Calexico City Council, Calexico Redevelopment Successor Agency, Calexico Financing Authority, regular meeting agenda. Calling this meeting to order at 5:34 p.m., starting with roll call.
Mayor Ureña.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Romo.
Here.
Councilmember Garcia.
Here.
Councilmember Manzanares.
Here.
Councilmember Moreno.
Here.
We have four.
Thank you, Ms. Gabby. Any public comments on closed session items? No public comments on closed session items. At this moment, we will adjourn unless there's any emergency items for the closed session agenda.
There are none.
There are none. All right, we will be adjourning to closed session at 5:34. Good evening, everybody. It is 6:37. We will be starting the open session of the Calexico City Council, Calexico Redevelopment Successor Agency, Calexico Financing Authority open session meeting. We'll begin this call to order with a roll call.
Mayor Ureña.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Romo.
Here.
Councilmember Garcia.
Here.
Councilmember Manzanares.
Here.
Councilmember Moreno.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Awesome. Let us rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Oliva, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I appreciate that. Right hand over your heart, ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Garcia, the mission statement? Sure.
City of Calexico mission statement. Together, we pledge to provide effective and efficient services in a courteous and respectful manner to improve the quality of life for all in a unique border community. Viva Calexico.
Adelante, señora Romo, con la invocación.
Oremos. Señor Dios nuestro, te damos gracias por cada una de tus bendiciones que derramas en esta ciudad. Gracias por invitarnos a encontrarnos contigo y ser servidores de tu reino, para hacer que habiten en nuestras vidas la concordia y la paz. Haz, Señor, que con la fuerza de tu Espíritu logremos cambiar poco a poco nuestra sociedad y las estructuras, iniciando en nuestros hogares para ser personas que edifiquen y construyan, que hagamos el bien, que amemos y que seamos amigos y servidores tuyos. Gracias por escucharnos, danos la sabiduría necesaria en esta reunión y líbranos de todo mal. Amén.
Attorney Campos, any closed session announcements?
Thank you, Mayor. City Councilman in closed session. We did not complete closed session as such. We'll be resuming closed session at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, moving on to the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. Mayor, we do have two clarifications to the agenda. On item number 5, presentations, the agenda states presentation update SB 918. It should be AB 918.
Okay.
An additional item is under consent agenda, item number 12. It states interim police chief as a presenter of the item. It's human resources for item number 12.
Say the last part again?
Human resources as
Human
opposed
resources,
to
okay.
interim police chief, correct.
I'll make a motion with those changes.
Okay, with changes
And change.
noted. Is there a second? Second. Second by Mr. Garcia. All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. This agenda is approved. Announcements. These proceedings may be viewed at the City of Calexico website at www.calexico.ca.gov the Friday following the City Council meeting. We will also be streaming this live on our Facebook platform, City of Calexico City Hall. Community office hours with Mayor Ureña will be held by appointment. Please contact the City Clerk's office at 760-768-2102 to schedule an appointment. Las horas comunitarias con la alcaldesa Ureña serán hechas solamente por cita en este momento. Por favor, contacte a la secretaria general del municipio al 760-768-2102 para cumplir una cita. Moving on to presentations, we do have a presentation by Heffernan Memorial and Guillermo Hernandez from the Assembly Member's Office on AB 918. Adelante, do we have a presentation on the slide, Gabby? No presentation?
Yeah. That's
No? Okay.
So I'll wait for the documents to be passed out.
Thank you.
So with you, the documents that I just passed out, or that were just passed out, is a fact sheet for AB 918, related healthcare bills to AB 918 statewide, and then the sample letter of support that was sent over to city leadership. So good evening, members of the council, Mayor Ureña, distinguished guests, and members of the audience. Guillermo Hernandez, representative for Assemblymember Garcia. I stand before you today with a strong sense of dedication and urgency as we discuss AB 918, the Imperial Valley Healthcare District Bill. I want to stress the significance of this bill and respectfully encourage you to make a clear decision during this presentation. AB 918 is a critical piece of legislation that addresses the challenges we currently face in our healthcare system. It proposes the establishment of a unified healthcare district in Imperial Valley, aiming to improve the coordination, efficiency, and accessibility of healthcare services for all residents. One of the key benefits of AB 918 is that it provides a framework for the integration of our healthcare system and resources. Currently, we have two healthcare districts operating separately in our region: Pioneers Memorial Healthcare District, PMH, which includes a hospital, Heffernan Memorial Healthcare District, and the El Centro Regional Medical Center, which operates with a hospital but is not a healthcare district. This division can create disparities in resource allocation, coordination, and access to care. AB 918 aims to bridge this gap by unifying these entities under a single healthcare district, ensuring better coordination, resource optimization, and improved patient outcomes. By establishing a healthcare district, AB 918 offers several advantages. Firstly, it promotes a more streamlined and efficient healthcare system. It enables better coordination among healthcare providers, enhances collaboration, and eliminates redundancies. This results in a more integrated and patient-centric approach to healthcare delivery. Secondly, AB 918 provides a platform for improved resource allocation, as mentioned before. It allows for a more equitable distribution of healthcare resources, ensuring that all areas within the district, including underserved communities, have access to quality healthcare services. By pooling resources and expertise, the healthcare district can better address the specific needs of our community. Furthermore, AB 918 prompts LAFCO to play a crucial role in determining the sustainable funding mechanism for the healthcare district based on a fiscal analysis to be conducted by LAFCO, the Local Agency Formation Commission, and a complementary analysis by Kaufman Hall, a healthcare consulting firm. The insights and recommendations from both analyses, when combined, will inform the development of a comprehensive financial framework that ensures the district's long-term sustainability. I'm pleased to inform you and the public that AB 918 has already made significant progress in the legislative process. It successfully passed the initial committee, known as local government, with a unanimous vote of 8-0. Subsequently, it advanced to the second committee, appropriations, where it received another unanimous vote of 18-0. Furthermore, it successfully passed on the assembly floor with an overwhelming vote of 77-0. Currently, the bill is on the Senate side, where we are incorporating valuable feedback received from stakeholders throughout the county. In recent weeks, we've witnessed a groundswell of support for AB 918 from organizations and entities from throughout the county. Most recently, influential entities like LAFCO and CASA of Imperial County have endorsed AB 918, reinforcing our shared commitment to addressing the healthcare challenges in our region. The growing network of support demonstrates the collective dedication of our community to improve healthcare access and outcomes for all residents of Imperial Valley. I would like to express our utmost gratitude to all those who have already rallied behind AB 918. The list of supporters continues to grow, encompassing organizations in cities such as the County of Imperial, the City of Brawley, Heffernan Memorial Healthcare District, Imperial Valley College, the City of El Centro, the City of Imperial, the Imperial County Office of Education, Best Step Forward, Calexico Wellness Center, VO Medical Center, Imperial County Medical Society, Ivy Equity and Justice Coalition, the University of California, Preston Hollow Community Capital, and numerous others. Your unwavering support has been instrumental in bringing us closer to achieving our shared vision of an integrated healthcare district that will positively impact the lives of our community members. I ask everyone to carefully consider the gravity of the situation we face. Our community is currently experiencing a dire need for improved healthcare services, and AB 918 presents a concrete solution to address these challenges. Past attempts to establish a single healthcare district in our region have regrettably fallen short, leaving our community vulnerable and underserved in terms of healthcare access. AB 918 represents a unique and vital opportunity to rectify this situation and provide the quality healthcare services our community deserves. While we recognize the challenges and concerns that may exist, and I hope that I answered many of the questions that have surfaced, not only in person but via online media, we must not underestimate the urgency and significance of creating a comprehensive, a unified healthcare system. The individuals and families directly affected by the current shortcomings in our healthcare system are in desperate need of accessible and quality healthcare options. We cannot afford to take chances or risk the failure of our efforts to establish a system that effectively addresses their needs. Advocating for the creation of a healthcare system is our responsibility to safeguard the well-being of our community. AB 918 presents a pivotal opportunity to rectify the deficiencies in our current healthcare landscape and ensure that every member of our community receives the care they deserve. So once again, I respectfully request for the City of Calexico, I know it's just a presentation, but to support AB 918. Attached, you'll find the sample support letter. By doing so, we can pave the way for a healthcare system that truly serves the needs of our community. Together, we can ensure that every member of our community receives the care they deserve. Thank you for your attention and consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. At this point, does council have any questions for the assembly member? Or would you like Heffernan's presentation first?
Oh, wait, yeah.
Okay, we'll move on to Heffernan and then ask some questions.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Adelante, Mr. Regan.
Member City Council and the public, my name is Tomas Virgen. I'm the representative for Heffernan Memorial Healthcare District. And we're here in support of the Assembly Bill 918. Heffernan has been discussing the many issues that have afflicted our population. Calexico being not the largest, but very close to we're the second largest city in the county. Don't have a hospital, don't have an emergency room. We have some clinics, but we really need a lot of services, and we do have the sickest population in the county. In previous studies, we've shown that 50% of the ambulances that go to both emergency rooms come out of Calexico. Pretty drastic, a very sick population. And earlier on, after the Pledge of Allegiance, when we're looking at your mission statement, you talk about effective and efficient services, and we don't have that yet. It's something that we're striving for, and the only way to get there is to get this bill passed so that we can get to one unified healthcare district that doesn't duplicate services, that doesn't compete with itself, but rather augments the services and allocates them to the areas that we need them. And that is my only statement. Thank you. If you have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Regan. We do have a public speaker that I would like to call at this moment.
I just have a question. It looks promising. Javier Gonzalez, 237. It looks promising.
Excuse me. Could you gather a slip for this item? I already had someone in front. Okay, sounds good. Ms. Hurtado, could you speak first?
Okay.
I haven't received Mr. Gonzalez's slip.
I already gave one for public speaking. So
Oh, let me see if it's here, because you have one for public comments, but this is item number 5.
All right.
Do you want one for item number 5 as well?
I just had a question about the tax.
Okay, let me just let the speaker come first, and I'll let you ask your question. Adelante, Ms. Hurtado. Sure. Excuse me, Ms. Hurtado, you're first. You submitted your slip, and I have to take them in order. It says on the paper. Yes. Whichever one is good. This one works a little bit better from what was left.
Hello, everyone. I'm Maritz Hurtado. I am the coordinator for the Calexico Recall 2023. And I'm here also because the information that you have just kind of heard a little bit about, I would have appreciated maybe that the public would have been handed a copy of that flyer that you have, or some kind of something that we could see. But what I did give public to right now to Heffernan is that within this conversation about Heffernan and the 918, I don't believe that we are ready to necessarily support 918 because this district hasn't necessarily been very transparent to the community. For example, in our group, we have shared the finances, and as you know, we have a director here, Mr. Tomás Virgen. Mr. Virgen is paid quite a bit of money, and he only shows up one day a week. So that might be where, you know, council, we might want to take a look at before we actually support a consolidation such as this proposal, because the city of Calexico doesn't know how much we have as a balance if we're going to rely on what I just gave you. My question to you, Mr. Virgen, here in front of my three friends, is this really a balance sheet? Because this is saying that Heffernan Memorial Healthcare District only has one asset, which is a $500,000 deposit on a mega park property purchase, which happened a long time ago, and it doesn't necessarily display any information about the other assets. So to me, I'm not sure, I've been questioning a lot why we do this, but if we're going to be able to merge with El Centro Regional Medical Center, I have a problem with that too, because this money that Heffernan has been taxed to this community through property taxes for the last, I guess, 25 years, Mr. Virgen? And for 25 years, we had a $6 million savings. The other thing I also gave to this council was a change order, and I know that, Mr. Garcia, you're always very concerned about change orders. I know that the other council does not look at that. But right now, we're building a clinic on the corner of Mary and 4th, in front of the neighborhood house. And that really worries me because that started out as a $2 million project. It had a change order of a $2 million increase. Why is that? I don't know. But it started out at the same time 2 years ago, I guess, the construction. You haven't advanced very much. It's an eyesore. And I just recently put another $200,000, almost close. I thought it was 400, but I saw now that it's 200. Another increase, another change order. And when you look at that list, it's kind of weird because the things that they're asking for to be able to increase the cost of this project are things that were very evident at the beginning of wanting to actually rehabilitate the building. It was like windows and things like that. And so, you know, we need to look as a community, now that we're very aware of where, you know, we want to look at where our money goes to, is we need to look at Heffernan. And if we're going to be able to take our money and what our savings were for that long without a hospital, and we have to run over to Brawley and to El Centro for our services, the city of El Centro, the residents of El Centro are not taxed. They don't have the kind of fund that we do. So please look at that. If anyone wants to have any of this, we are sharing that on our page. I hope you're all finding it very informative. We should have something very soon. And I forgot to ask for my minute and a half additional because I have a disability, but I just don't want to go that way. So thank you so much, very, very much, all of you. Please pay attention to all of what you're having in front of you. Do not support 918 because you don't even know how much you have.
Ms. Hurtado, I have a question for the record.
Sorry.
Okay, sounds good. Mr.
Javier Gonzalez, 237 Hernandez. I live in an area that's very impoverished, and we have a lot of senior citizens. And Calexico, as you know, it's the highest tax-paid community. We have we had the Metro J. I mean, believe Ms. Romo was there in the school. Millions of dollars got lost. Nothing happened with the Metro J. And then we have but now that we have Metro H, we have another school bond. We have the hospital tax. That proposal looks promising. My concern is the tax money. No other community pays special tax, special property hospital tax like we do. What's going to happen to that money? I sincerely support that, but if our money goes to the fire department or to our local police and fire department, because how we're going to be paying all this tax while no other community in the valley does. I mean, why? That proposal looks fine. My concern is the tax. We do away with it or we give it to our fire department, but Calexico is the highest paid tax community in the valley. So, I mean, that's just my concern. I don't know, that hasn't been addressed. Maybe they already have a plan, but I haven't heard that. And my parents, our property tax went like from 500 to 1,200 in about 2-3 years. That's all my concern. Thank you.
Mr. Rican, would you like to respond to the public first before council questions? Sure. And
One second,
this is
Tomas
all
Rican with Heffernan. Yeah.
just for the record, it's all in the context of the healthcare panorama. Obviously, that informs our decision making in AB 919, even though it appears to be something with the urgent care center. We speak on it on the context of the decision we're going to make on AB 918.
Okay, so regarding 918 and the tax question by, that we asked. So,
The microphone.
okay, so regarding the tax, yes, right now, the only people that pay into the Calexico Healthcare District, the Heffernan Healthcare District is Calexico. And Pioneers are also a healthcare district, and they also accrue a little bit over $2 million a year on tax revenues. If we form a new super district, everyone in the county will be paying into that tax pool. How much, how little, we don't know yet. That's still being assessed, but it is believed, and this is rough estimate, so don't quote me on it, that we could collect about $8 million valley-wide towards a new healthcare system. So I'll be having a new structure, a new infrastructure altogether, and the plan is to have a new healthcare system to manage all healthcare throughout the county. Calexico will get 2 seats on that 7-member board. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Mr. Oliva, is this for public comments on this item?
Correct.
Okay.
Do I hand that to you, sir?
Yeah, or Gabby, and then just come up. This microphone works a little bit better.
Perfect. So thank you, Mayor Urenia, council members. My name is Tomas Oliva, and I'm the president of El Centro Regional Medical Center. I'm here to essentially just kind of set the record straight in that the reason why we're moving in this direction, quite honestly, is because this all came out of a situation of desperation, right? COVID hit, our Medi-Cal and Medicare reimbursements at the hospital do not meet the cost of the services there, and that has been the case, right? But what I really want to let you all know is that this has shifted from a mission of desperation to a mission of inspiration, in that, why do we want to do this? We want to do this because we recognize that Calexico doesn't have a hospital, right? We recognize that El Centro has a hospital, but we're not taxing ourselves. Pioneers has a hospital that is not seismically retrofitted and is not compliant. They actually cannot retrofit it, which is the reason why they haven't taken out a bond to retrofit it. They would have to essentially tear down the entire building and rebuild a brand new hospital from the ground up. So if we were to join, right, have one licensed hospital, multiple campuses, but under one flag, our reimbursement rates go up. It's because we would have a sole hospital designation, which means that the closest licensed hospital to us is 80-something miles away in Eisenhower and Riverside, or 100-something miles away in San Diego, which immediately raises our reimbursement rates, which means we're looking at additional $10 million, up to $10 million in just reimbursement rates if we do this. Secondly, shared services, eliminating the redundancy, having one executive team, we're looking at another $5 to $7 million in savings, right? If we were to tax ourselves, meaning if this all happens, it doesn't mean that you would have to continue paying your Heffernan tax and then on top of that something else. It would be basically your Heffernan would get eliminated, and whatever is assessed to every resident in the county, it would get assessed, which means you would either still be paying the exact same, or it might be less or slightly higher. Quite honestly, I think it would be less, because you're now looking at pooling all of your money with residents from Heber, from Imperial, from El Centro, right? And so the reason why I say inspiration is because after all this is done, that new board is going to look at a healthcare services needs assessment. We're going to be tracking why people leave out of Imperial County to find services in San Diego, identify those services, and ensure that we have those services here, right? It's to look at what services is desperately needed in Calexico and be able to afford it, so that it's not only on the backs of the residents of Calexico, but you're pulling it, right, from El Centro, and quite honestly, I'm more than happy to have my taxpayer dollars going into helping and sustaining, because it helps the entire system. So I do hope that you can support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Oliva. Ms. Armendariz, you submitted a slip for this item?
Yes.
Yes, adelante. Or would, adelante, yes. This microphone works a little bit better.
Good evening, my name is Adriana Armendariz, 709 Harrington. I am a taxpayer also, and I am a board member of the Heffernan Board. That was one of our questions that we had a concern, is how much more tax is Calexico citizens going to pay? That question was never answered, and that was my concern, and I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Moving on to, seeing no further public comments, moving on to the board. Anybody have questions for either Mr. Virgen or Mr. I want to say Hermosillo. Everybody has been calling you Hermosillo, by the way.
Memo.
Tienes el
Guillermo, right?
mismo. Sí. ¿Cómo?
Guillermo?
Hernández, right?
Guillermo Hernández.
Te quiero decir Hermosillo, because it starts with H.
I have a question for Mr. Hernandez. What is the right now the status for the AB
918.
918?
So the status of the bill the bill currently sits on the Senate side. It's going through the legislative process, being refined based on conversations we've had with stakeholders from Calexico all the way up to Calipatria to even Bombay Beach. So it's currently on the Senate side. It sits in a committee, should be heard on the 12th of this month.
Okay, 12, huh? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hernandez.
Just one run. I don't want to put you on the spot. I don't know if you know the answer to this, but it may be also addressed to Heffernan. But one thing is that is a concern for me, and this is what I hear from citizens here, and I think it's already clarified when Mr. Oliva, former mayor, Mr. Oliva from El Centro alluded to, is that I think the funds, because I read here is that it says, and I'm going to quote unquote, according to the bill, dissolve the Heffernan Memorial Healthcare District, and that's a no-brainer, right? Dissolve it, and transfer all assets, rights, and responsibilities of the district to the new Imperial County Healthcare District. And by a read there, when I read it there, it also includes the monies, right? The monies that the citizens have been assessed already. Could we do send them, or I think the Heffernan does receive about $900,000 a year from us.
That's a
I'm
question
just
that I don't have
saying,
the
what
answer
happens to
right?
that money? Does it stop going?
More than likely will be transferred in what I.
Okay, so that money is now going to be diverted to the new healthcare district.
You know, I don't have the answer to the question.
That's
but
what I'm saying.
yeah,
That's
I
what
get
it
back
seems
to
like,
now.
right?
Mr. Virgen, does...
Is that what it seems
does
like? It's
that
going to be transferred to that new district, those money?
Although that hasn't been defined yet, we talked about pulling all assets into the new district. That will be all of them for all of them. But we still haven't decided how much or how much debt, et cetera. Right now, the idea is everybody puts everything in a new pool, and that's what's going to fund the new districts with the additional savings, right? No duplication of services, sole provider status, et cetera, et cetera.
And so if the money gets transferred and the project on Mary hasn't been finished, where's that money going to, are we going to get it from that pool of money that's now already been transferred with all the other money from all the cities, or including the monies that are allocated to the bill to finish that project?
We were given on that urgent care, November 1 deadline to finish that building. So that building will be finished before the elections.
So 5 million, you say 5 million?
November 1.
Okay,
November 1 deadline, the deadline.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
I did hear a question that I think has been already answered a couple times. Who will maintain it? It's that new tax, the replacement of this tax.
Right.
Yes,
Right?
correct.
En pocas palabras.
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question, if you could answer, Mr. Hernandez. Because it seems to me like, I am for a unified healthcare district so that we avoid emergencies like what just happened last year or this year as well. It seems to me, though, that Calexico right now has a tax special for Calexico, and it's a Heffernan healthcare district. However, feels like if we don't get an assurance that we're gonna be better off with this, then it feels like we are kind of doing a disservice to Calexico, because we don't have a hospital, we haven't had a hospital for a long time, and if this doesn't have any securities for us, being one of the biggest cities in the Imperial Valley, with no assurances that we're gonna actually get something out of this, except for like, because I can't trust that like the people that are gonna be in this new board are gonna approve like a new clinic, a new hospital in Calexico, right? So I just wanna make sure before I support something like this that we're not gonna end up losing something. I don't know if that's kind of being talked in the assembly member's office, or is there any sort of...
So do you mind, Councilmember, rephrasing your question? Or sum it up in
Sure. So what is Calexico to gain with this?
Right.
Because we already have an individual healthcare district that we pay for. So what do we end up gaining?
So
from
there's
this?
redundancies in services, like as mentioned before. There, with the Unified Healthcare District, you'll have a bigger credit for more credit, for lack of a better term. You'll have improved services, healthcare services. You won't have PMH competing with El Centro Regional Medical Center, and that's I think that's it. And you get you get 2 seats on the board. You get a hospital.
Yeah,
And so on 7 seats. I'm sorry, so on 7 seats. But is there a way to determine? Just said how
So
it's going to be.
it's on the
determined?
language. It's in the bill language to appoint 2 members from Calexico.
so Mr. Hernandez, right? Hernandez? Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's going to oversee the agencies regulating the new district? Is LAFCO?
Mr. Oliva, you are allowed to speak if
Yeah,
if
go
have
ahead.
any
Yeah, you don't know the answer. I just-
Intermissions, apologies. Other than-
I didn't want to be disrespectful. Just real quick. So the transitioning board is an appointed body.
Yeah, it's just
right?
right.
But it's only appointed until they determine the districts, and eventually those board members of the inaugural board will be voted by the people.
Right, and my understanding, those are just going to make recommendations, because they're going to be 2 people per city, and they're going to meet and confer, and they're going to say recommendation to LAFCO, which is the district. No, LAFCO is not going to oversee the district. Who's going to oversee the district?
They're going to oversee the district, but essentially it's just like any governing body. They will vote, and it'll be that.
Right. So it's just anything that comes from it, just a recommendation to LAFCO, right?
No.
No?
With this body will determine the districts, and that's the way it's going to get sent to the electoral department, and that's what it's going to be voted on.
Okay.
Meaning, which means that Calexico could have 2, if not 3 seats, depending on how the districts are divided up, right? And so, council member, to your question, what do you get? You get a hospital. You get a hospital, you get pooled funding. You're going to have access to studies that are going to identify what your community needs, and you're going to have the monies, the leverage to actually build it and have it here, as opposed to fundraising $1 million a year and not being able to meet the needs, right? So to answer your question, the alternative is status quo, which is you already know what you get. I know it's uncomfortable to think of changing something and imagining what that could be. It is stressful for us as well, but what we do know is that what we currently have is not enough.
Also, it's my understanding that those people appointed by the city council will get to choose the process by which they get appointed to the board.
I believe so. That is something that the Assembly Member's Office was going to do, because California state law dictated that the county Board of Supervisors would have to appoint. El Centro was not in agreement with that, and so we wanted to make sure that we would appoint our folks, Pioneers would appoint theirs, and then Calexico. So that's in the language, and that's something that I think you would need to connect with the Assembly Member's Office with.
Okay. Thank you.
Sufficient. Questions?
I do have a few questions. And I know that probably I'm going to be getting ahead of myself in the process, but it's questions that I have, and maybe the citizens also have. I know we're talking about Brawley, El Centro, and Calexico, right? Appointing, being part of that board, and pretty much kind of like footing the bill. So how are the other cities getting to paying for that district, owing to that district, for that health care that is going to be provided? Is there some sort of work that has been done, or are you building that into this bill where, for example,
I don't know, Imperial, Hopeville. Is there some language that includes all those cities to pay into that also? And also representation, and how is that going to be, how are they going to be contributing to this?
So based on the fiscal analysis by LAFCO, countywide, they'll figure out a funding mechanism to sustain the healthcare district. So it'll be from the four corners of the county. How much does Winter Haven have to pay? How much does Sealy have to pay? How much does Heber have to pay? All the cities that aren't currently paying, based on the fiscal analysis from LAFCO.
Okay. How is the representation on that board?
So once after the appointment, and we're still exploring this language, but after the appointments have happened, it'll go into an election, and then folks will be able to run for those seats, and then the city will be able to, or the cities or the community will be able to vote folks in.
Thank you. And another thing, I know that once this is, if it goes through, or when it goes through, right, that, Heffernan will be disbanded, all the assets will go to this new district. So, I think all of us here understand that this is really crucial, and we need to have services here in Calexico, or at least something that will be for Calexico also. I mean, I have to advocate for Calexico. So here we are building a new healthcare facility, a clinic, so what's gonna happen with that? I mean, we already spent, millions of dollars in that, and we're hearing that it's gonna be built or maybe finished in November, right? What's gonna happen to that? Are we gonna have services here? I know that now, as we stand, there's a contract already with one of the medical provider. What's gonna happen with that? What services are gonna go in there? Because right now, pretty much we are putting money into this project, and once we do this, if this goes through, then what happens to that? So I wanna make sure that, we are strategic with what we have with the assets, and that we utilize those assets for the benefit of the community, right? I want to make sure that, the money that has been contributed by the citizens is being used, accordingly. And I'm not implying that it hasn't. But when I see a change order, and not just, I'm not really, that's something that it really, really makes me uncomfortable when I see a change order, right? And yes, I do remember, a couple of years ago, we had this presentation, and my question was back then was, we went from one, estimate of this project, costing us to doubling, in just a few months or a couple of years. And I understand we went through the pandemic, we went through all these things, but every time I hear is that about this project, it's costing us more, and I don't see completion to that. So. Again, this is not a rant, but it's just a lot of things that have not been answered. I want to have answers to that. And I know Tomas, and Guillermo, this is not on you, but I want to hear more about what's going on with our district. I want to make sure that when we go into this, if we go into this, all of that is clear and is settled for the citizens of Calexico, so that we can get behind this. If we have to, contribute more, but we want to see what we're contributing to, or what we're paying into. Because, what we have right now existing, as far as healthcare, we always refer to our firefighters as our hospital on wheels. And I want to see that, we have a hospital here, or we have a facility where we can go. So, again, I just want to put this out there. I'm not framing this as a question. I'm framing this also as sharing, as maybe also sharing what people have shared with me about Heffernan, about this idea. I think it's great, that we're looking at providing better medical services, because we shouldn't be going, over the mountain for specialized services. We shouldn't be choosing between El Centro or Brawley. It should be one medical district or facility where you go and you get the services that you deserve and that you pay for. So that's all. Again, just my comments on that, and that I just want to see more specifics also on this bill. I think it looks great. I think in other areas at work, including Indio, it is my Coachella. So there is already a case study that we can have and looked at. But I want answers. I want more specifics before I get behind something like this. Thank you.
And I'm gonna piggyback. All right, hold on, excuse me. I'm gonna piggyback on a little bit on. I'm gonna piggyback on his statement a little bit because I asked Heffernan since last year to come here and give us updates every week or every meeting we had, and this is the first time that they've come here. And for whatever reason, I've asked meetings after meetings after meetings, and they were always canceled. And this could have been avoided. We could have been a year already ahead of this, but now we're gonna have to now decide. Here, decide now. It's a good thing. Vote for it. Well, guess what? I'm on reservations now because of that reason. And I asked Heffernan. Come on. I asked many times. They're never here. And the first time they showed up to tell you to vote on it, to ask those questions, to have the community have the input, because we work for you guys. We want to make sure we make the right choices. Thank you.
Mr. Moreno, I would love to see the invite that you texted me or emailed me. And Mrs. Colio, I believe you're the first time that you reached out to me to come and report to you. Thank you. That's all I wanted to say. We have not received such invitation.
Excuse me, please. Excuse me, if you would like to speak, there's a public comment slip, and I would happily... Excuse me. If there's more outbursts, you will be escorted out.
Mr. Hernandez, you had something?
Adelante. Thank you. We need to...
Oh, thank you, Mayor and Council. Just want to say thank you. Want to express my gratitude for, allowing us to express how we feel about AB 918, to educate the community and use this platform to educate the community on AB 918. And I want to set the record straight. AB 918 is separate from what's going on here locally. We are open to, questions. Calling our office at any time, send us an email, and, thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will comment just briefly on this presentation before we close, seeing no more requests for public comment. In essence, this idea of AB 918, which is to consolidate so that we have one reimbursement, a higher reimbursement rate for Medi-Cal, is just the intelligent thing to do, right? Like, you will get more money if we have one healthcare district. Every time a patient comes into this one singular healthcare district, we will receive more money from the state that doesn't have to come out of our pockets for medical services. Obviously, as my experience in the Transportation Commission, when I've had to work with the rest of the county, like Mr. Manzanares said, I do get nervous when the funds from Calexico are going to be put in the hands of the rest of the valley. The city of Brawley, the mayor of Brawley specifically says that we don't have a traffic issue. When Mr. Oliva, you've come during rush hour to a CERA meeting, you've been stuck, miles north of Calexico. And so if that Brawley representative is going to come here and say, well, no one gets picked up at the border by your ambulances, then I'm not interested. It also, that representation matters, right? And so when we're looking at the board of supervisors, districts favor cities that are spread out, right? El Centro gets to have little corners in every of the districts, but Calexico only gets a sliver of one, and one big district one because of our density, right? I hope, and I know it's up to LAFCO to make those determinations in the district, but the nature and the shape of those districts will be so important to our city's representation because of the history that we've had on other commissions where we had to share power with the rest of the county. We are not treated equitably. We are stepped over, underinvested, and when it comes to our healthcare, of course, I think we all agree that representation at the end of the day is what's going to be key. But when it comes to the essence of this bill, which is this transfer, this consolidation, this efficiency of having not redundant systems, yes, absolutely. I mean, it's what makes sense. It's probably going to generate a lower tax rate despite people wanting to sell it as more taxes. This is probably going to lower your taxes because you're going to pull in and you're going to be eligible for more money from the state. So that on its own mathematically will lower your taxes. And we can argue with the wall, we can argue with the paper that we don't have just yet. That study is still being commissioned. But those districts that representation and our history as Calexico in the hands of the rest of the county is relevant in this discussion. And I really thank the both of you, Mr. Virgen, Mr. Oliva, for being here, and of course, Mr. Hernandez, for your presentations and your responses to the community. Muchas gracias. Moving on to public comments. Mr. Legaspi, Chief Legaspi. Este trabaja mejor. I know we still haven't gotten that money to fix the sound system.
Good evening, council members, mayor,
And
city
Chief.
manager, Carlos, hello, and the public. I'm here to introduce our newest member of our police department. He's our four-legged friend, and his name is Dex. A little history behind Dex. He's from Ukraine. Yes, from Ukraine. He's a 23-month-old German Shepherd who was rescued over there in Ukraine during the wartime. Obviously, we're still going through the war. Russians were going door to door and killing canines. So he's a rescued dog from Ukraine. He was brought here to the United States along with 30 other canines. During the selection process, our canine officer, Officer Anthony Aguirre, a selection process was done, and the officer and our canine Dex had diligently worked together as a team, and that's how we came about with Dex and our newly appointed canine officer, Officer Aguirre. We had just done a presentation last week at the library, and there was a lot of people, and thank you, Ms. Golia, for attending, and there was a lot of people that loved our canine. I don't know about Officer Aguirre, but they loved our dog, so just kidding. We had people that were disappointed that couldn't make it to the presentation, that they actually called the library asking when is Dex coming back so they can return and so they can visit our canine. We're going to be doing more presentations with Dex at schools and other agencies, organizations, and so forth. So we want to introduce our canine right now. I'm not going to do much more of talking. So also, Anthony Aguirre, can you bring down Dex here so everyone can see our four-legged officer? So do we have time to do a little trick?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Dex, Officer Aguirre, I'm sorry. I'm calling him Dex.
That's all. He's pretty hyper. He's kind of bored. So if anybody has any drugs, he's always smiling. He doesn't text me. He's only a detection dog. He's like a bear to me. Friendly bear. So he's like commander at Russian. Thomas is. CJ. Good boy. So lay down. What's that? Good boy. Against the wall. That's his reward. So there's many more with the man to do them. I'll do the search. It's a car, backpack, room, etc. There's more than that. I won't give them. This ball, I'm rewarding them, but it's a detection ball. I usually don't give it to them. Just to sit array. Only when we find narcotics and stuff like that. But yeah, it's Dex.
All right.
If I can, sure. I mean, yeah, I love dogs. But I have a question. Is there any statistics tied to Dex so that we know, like, for example, I know he's already been put to work and he's already gotten CSIS, like.
Yes, as a matter of fact, we've had him for how long? For about a couple of months there, 2 months. And so far, since the deployed of Dex, he's already been involved in several types of narcotics. Yeah, he has seized narcotics out there. I mean, I don't have the number count.
He's been involved in 3 arrests, which were traffic vehicles, including controlled substance and narcotics, such as fentanyl, methamphetamine, and a little bit of heroin.
Good. Excelente.
He's a very friendly dog. When we took him to the library, kids loved him. They pet him, and they had a great time being around Dex. So if you guys want to touch him or whatnot, just, take a photo, have him go up there.
All right.
Manzanada, you're thinking about it, right? No, he's not. He's a friendly dog.
Are we taking a picture?
Yes.
Yes, todos. Venga.
Yeah, we already ordered a bag for him.
Oh, there you go.
He's trying to smell the top of the.
Yeah, I recently found out that Ms. Golia's husband, who's a police officer, used to be a canine officer. He liked you the last time.
Ya sé, no se le quiere acercar.
There you go. Oh, there you go.
Estoy.
All right, Dex.
No, ya sé. Pasa. He knows that I'm afraid of him.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Legaspi. Mr. Gonzalez, Javier, adelante. Este micrófono se corta menos. ¿Quieres usar ese?
Honorable Mayor, members of council, city management, staff, my name is Javier Gonzalez. I represent you at IID. Since you gave me since you entrusted me with IID, I made a lot of promises, and we've come through with most of those promises. And this summer, we're going to continue. Next week, Kennedy Gardens park lights. The park lights at Kennedy Gardens will be replaced. Thanks to the city for approving that donation from the Kennedy family. Kennedy family from Massachusetts is paying for all the improvements, new lights, new wiring, new everything. More LED lights for Calexico, as you saw last year. When we ran, almost 1/3 of the city was out. Encontrar las luces fundidas por todos lados. I promised I was going to do it. We reported more than 1,000. IID created a new app, and some of our council members said they were going to help. Our records show they never called. That app, you report street lights within a minute, and IID keeps you updated on the status of the maintenance. We personally ourselves went out there every week. We reported more than 1,000. If you don't see too many of them, the few that are out, they have underground problems. They're the city responsibility. They haven't fixed a single one in 2 years. IID has fixed more than 1,000. They replaced like 800 all the way from Andrade all the way to Heber. All of it is LED with the exception of several. Next week, they're going to start from Heffernan all the way to Imperial, down to Las Flores, Kincaid, Sterling, new LED lights. They were going to start last month, but with the new PLA, they're having a little problems. More DP duct signs, as we promised more DP ducts. We promised to take care of our Calexico canals. All the fencing has been secured at the All-American Canal. New fencing will go up on the corner of Cole and Bowker. Those two bridges are very dangerous. We have IID, and they're going to put fencing all the way. All that area is going to be fencing because there's a new development there. There's a lot of kids. Good thing that the kids are not like when we were. We were out there with BB guns, with bikes. Today, kids are just with the phones. Otherwise, we will have an incident there. Next week, IID will launch 2 crews to paint all the light posts and all the green boxes in Calexico. That hasn't been done in years. And they're training those kids right now. They're part-time part-time in their training. So you see all the graffiti and the light posts and those green boxes. The green boxes, the ones that don't work, will be replaced. The Earth Day event that was in Calexico, we opened with Heffernan Calexico Health and Safety Community Fair. That has been moved to IID. It's an annual event. It happened this last Earth Day. They're going to do it every day. Within 2 months, IID will open their first Public Affairs Community Relations Department. They never had one, and we're going to open one, so they'll be more involved in the community. IID also in the first 100 years started their first Health, Safety, and Environmental Commission. That has never been at IID. So we're very happy that we're going to get all these new things this coming summer. The only thing that we're a little bit worried is those 33 lights they don't work. They're under the responsibility of the city. All the lights in the intersection of Cole, on the intersections of Cole, whether it's Cole and Boca, Cole and Rockwood, Cole and Robinson, they don't work. They haven't worked for years. Those are the responsibility of the city. The ones at downtown, those are responsibility of the city. There's also all the corner on the 3rd and Heffernan, all those lights don't work. Some of them already have LED, but another problem that needs wiring. IID doesn't do that. IID just fixes the light. And the retention basin, IID committed to pay for everything to put valves so that water won't go into those retention basins, and we're just waiting on the city. So thank you very much. We look forward this summer to more improvements for Calexico. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Ms. Colio, just for the record, for the records that we maintain for our public comments, does Mr. Gonzalez right now represent the community or IID based on the restrictions that were placed?
I don't know, it depends on what he wrote in the note. I don't know.
I think we're going to register it as community.
Okay.
Because I think it was mentioned ID directors, and there's some like censorship going on. Thank you. Mr. Rashid?
Council members, public, thank you for having me here. I'm here to address on 2nd and Rockwood downtown, the Rockwood Promenade, that's what it's called. I was wondering, does the council have any plans of taking it out, or do you folks are planning on keeping it?
We can answer that not directly. We can answer it in city council comments.
Okay. The reason I was asking is because the trees are dying. It's unsanitary. The city doesn't clean it. My tenants have complained, and they're in regards to the rent and everything. It's not helping business out any, and times are tough right now. And so if the city would consider maybe returning it back to the way it was with a traffic flow, the merchants would be very, very happy. So it's just a suggestion.
Thank you, Mr. Rashid.
Anyway, the reason for it was good. It was noble, but it doesn't seem to be working out for the merchants and for the people around. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ali?
Good evening for everybody. My name is Ali from LA Fashion downtown. You know how long I've been here downtown? I don't know where you guys been. 1995. 1995, I was in the First Street on Rockwood. This is when you guys told us back in November 15, we never hear about nothing. Nobody showed us a plan. Somebody called me from Mexicali. They say on the 15th November, they're going to shut it down. We came here so many times, and you guys took the decision, we're going to shut it down, and you promised us 5 months. Look where we're at. July, that was 9 months. You guys haven't done nothing. You shut the street, you make us miserable. You're miserable? I ask all of you guys, everybody have party every week. You go vacation, but us, we're not allowed to go. Because I'm behind with the rent. Every month I'm behind with the rent. I can't go with it. I have 5 loans. Every month I take loan from different bank to cover the other one. It's miserable. Just open the street, let us stay in business. I told Javier, the owner, till October I'm done. If you guys not open the street, I'm gone. I was here since 1995. I can't take it anymore. I'm behind with all my bill. I already 4 company shut me down because he told me you're behind. You're not, somewhere. You give you a chance one time. Second time, if you don't see the payment, he say go somewhere else, sir. We need people promise. When you receive our merchandise, you have to pay us. Well, there's no sale. There's no people. Including you guys. No, none of you guys have anybody handicapped. Before, I used to people come in, park in front of my store, and the person, when he's handicapped, he can't get out. The lady or man come inside my store. You see, I need shoes from my kids. I need shoes from my dad. He come to the side store, we give him a couple pair. He go outside to try them out because he can't stand up. He said he like it. I'm gonna buy it. But since November to now, I don't have nothing. Nothing. You guys, please, just open up. We don't need nothing from you guys. Just move the cement, have us stay in business. That's what we need. You know what I mean? What do you guys make out of it? You profit anything? From back in November to now, 9 months. What have you haven't done? You guys spend a lot of money painting. You spend $70,000, $80,000 painting. The tree, you saw, I was in the Facebook. You saw it how crack the tree? It's like cookies. It's not working. You know what I mean? Close your finger like this. 5 minutes, 10 minutes. How long you can hold it? But just leave it. You feel comfortable. That's a tree where you put in one box. That's what happened. You have to put it in the ground, have it build it. But on that street, in that place, you can't put it. You have to take it to your backyard. You have to take it somewhere else. Every week I send it to Javier picture. How dirty is it? Re-steal the chair. You guys replace the chair like 10 times. Re-steal the table. Come in the morning, you see people sitting there. Who's these people? You're waiting for the bus. It's not our customer. Well, thanks you for coming. I mean, that's all. Just please think about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Flores, Carla?
I wrote it down so I won't forget. Hello, can you guys hear me? Good evening, Mayor, members of the Council, Administration, and public. My name is Carla Flores. I live on 602 Emilia, here in Calexico. I come before you today to express my concerns about issues that concern me as a taxpayer and a voter of the city of Calexico. When I was growing up, I used to call certain areas in the city of Calexico hoods. One of them was La Garra. That's where I grew up, and that's where I currently reside. And I am very proud to say that I am from La Garra. However, Calexico doesn't have hoods. Calexico is a hood in its entirety. Calexico is not safe for our children, adolescents, adults, and older adults anymore. We can't go walking to the park, to the corner store without having to encounter a homeless looking like a zombie, or having undocumented people being dropped off in your neighborhood and looking for a shelter in your backyard. I don't feel safe, not even walking outside from this chamber to my car when I leave today. Another issue that we see is traffic. Before you say anything, don't start blaming the construction on 98 because that has nothing to do with this. We have no traffic controllers. Just last week on Saturday, I was unable to cross from Cesar Chavez Boulevard coming west from Grand Street because cars were blocking Cesar Chavez without any traffic controllers. This was around 9 a.m. and this didn't stop until like 1 p.m. I ended going back to 80 and getting 98, and when I arrived to Imperial Avenue, I encountered the same issue. Have you realized all these things that can happen when streets are being blocked and emergencies arise? No, I don't think so, because you guys haven't done anything. These conversations have been going on for months and months and nothing has been done. Days ago, my front neighbor called 911. The fire department arrived, coming from station number 1, because the fire station number 2 is closed. So stop saying that it's open. I live 2 blocks away from it. I see it every day and I pass by every day. All of you sitting up there while campaigning, part of your platform was safety, how you would focus on rebuilding the city and ensuring safety to all residents. Some of you have been here for more than 2 years, and still, to this day, you have not done anything about that. Why does it have to take for us voters to come and remind you of what your job is? You are sitting in that chair because people like me, all these citizens of Calexico voted for you. We are your bosses. You need to listen to our concerns and quite frankly, you only do things that benefit you and your compa system. You talk about what prior administrations all the times have been doing, blaming them constantly over and over again. We're done with that. You're new here and you need to stop blaming others and do your job. Move Calexico forward. Stop looking back and just fix the problems and not blame Juan, Shona, and Pepe. As an elected official, none of you up there have proven that you are here to serve the community. You have taken actions that has hurt our local businesses, such as like the ones that came up here right now, our residents. During the last meeting, the budget was presented. However, it was not presented by our financial department. Why? Since when does the council take control over that? The budget made no sense to me. I was watching it online. I was very disappointed that none of the councilmen, except maybe 1 or 2, had several questions. Those questions were irrelevant to the budget. I'm almost done. As a resident of Calexico, I demand that the financial department present us with the current year budget for fiscal year 23-24. I will end my public comment with this. We need a stronger city council to work for the residents of Calexico, a stronger police department to protect our citizens, and station number 1 to be open, and we demand that Rockwood Avenue be reopened. Thank you.
Mr. Risa? I think ex-council member has left the premises. Mr. Garcia? Jesse?
Good evening, Jesse Garcia, 600 block Lincoln Street.
No, Shes.
Well, I'm going to start by saying something that I guess all of you know already, many people here in the audience, because they have me on Facebook. I posted something about the flags in downtown. When I posted about the flags in downtown on Facebook, Mr. Mayor Urenia answered me back, texting me back that he was going to purchase flags for the downtown for the July. All right, I go, that's great, because we haven't had the flags up there in a couple of years. We've been having them since the 1920s until recently. And I know the reason, because they were being stolen little by little. So there's only a handful of flags, but it's probably about 20 flags, 20, 25. Well, I texted back to Mr. Urenia saying that there were flags at the city shop so you could use them also, at least those. You could put 1 flag or 2 per block at least. All right. So on the 4th of July, I was excited. I went to see my beautiful downtown with those flags. And there was nothing. So there, I came to a conclusion that, Mr. Mayor, I don't like to say this, but I came to a conclusion that you're a liar. And people have told me that, but I couldn't believe them. Now I do. You did not keep your word. There's no flags. They're respecting our veterans. They're respecting our nation. Now, Now, I know, here comes another holiday, which I can't remember which one. Let's see if this time it could be, not only get the ones from City Hall, from the city shop, but get a few more. You have time, plenty of time to do that. Okay? So, another thing, going to a different subject, also in downtown area, what's happening with the downtown alleys? It's a big mess. Nobody hasn't cleaned them up no more. Like, for a while, they were nice and clean, not anymore. What's happening? Also, we got one right outside, a public payphone, which are obsolete. It looks nice in here, but not the ones in downtown. They're all broken. People use them for trash cans. They need to be removed. The fire hydrants around downtown area also need to be maintained, painted. I do hang around downtown. I go to see that, what I call the Plaza de las Mariposas. Those tables, they're too hot in the summer. I mean, you could fry an egg right there. It's impossible for people to sit down on those. And like these people said, we need to remove that. Get that money for the parking. The city really needs the money. Put the parking meters back. I believe that's it for this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Ex-Mayor Hurtado, adelante.
Muy buenas tardes, Concilio, lo voy a hablar ahora en español. Disculpe que me pongo un poquito frustrada cuando vengo y hablo porque pues no estoy acostumbrada ya a 3 minutos. Como dueña de un negocio de 35 años en Downtown Calexico, vengo con ustedes aquí para informarles que esta semana pasada hubo algo que ocurrió. Y dentro de lo que es siempre tus protestas, alcalde, dices que no one is above the law. Entonces yo vengo a preguntarte qué significa eso. Porque ese día de la semana pasada, a mí me llegó una persona de aquí del staff a decirme, y pues en mi punto de vista, acosarme, que yo no tenía licencia de negocio. Ese proceso se me hizo muy absurdo, muy ofensivo. Me trataron como si fuera yo una extraña en esta comunidad. Quiero yo saber, ¿verdad? Porque pedí una investigación sobre eso, para poder entender que si fui yo la única. Porque esa notificación se me dio a las 4 de la tarde, ¿sí? En un día que ustedes ya no trabajaban después de eso, porque ustedes descansan cada otro viernes. Entonces me dejaron ustedes con una curiosidad de saber qué era lo que estaba pasando, pero pues obviamente yo tenía mis archivos y mis recibos. Ya viniendo aquí el lunes ya me di cuenta que en realidad lo que me deberían de haber entregado ustedes era mi licencia de negocio. Pero en realidad lo que hay que hacer aquí es saber por qué tú tienes aquí un departamento de Code Enforcement fracasado. ¿Por qué ellos están haciendo ese tipo de ataque? Yo lo llamo un ataque a una mujer como yo, tan trabajadora, que he mantenido igual como Ali, tantos años un negocio de respeto de servicios de inmigración en esta ciudad. Necesito entender por qué me hicieron ustedes eso. La verdad me da risa, pero es ofensivo. ¿Por qué? Porque alrededor de uno están todos los problemas de este downtown, lo que a causa de que sea tan feo. Loitering, vagrancy, homelessness. La gente que no tiene nada que hacer bueno en downtown, no están comprando. ¿Y por qué tenemos que tener tanta gente ahí acostados esperando trabajar? No es para eso, no es para eso. Es para shopping, para que vengan y nos compren las cosas que a ti no te gustan. Y la verdad, tampoco no te invitamos para que vengas a comprar tus hot dogs, porque tenemos más que eso. También quisiera decirte, no tenemos una representación, no tenemos Cámara de Comercio, no tenemos un bid. Tú y este concilio están eliminando todas las comisiones, los han reducido, no están juntándose. Ustedes están eliminando al público de todo lo que es las acciones y los trabajos de ustedes. Escondes la información financiera. Me estás diciendo que no sabes encontrar la información. Dios mío, eres el alcalde y lo necesitas encontrar. No puedes tú nada más estar dando la información que a ti se te antoje. Edúcate tú primero, en primer lugar, para que cuando tú vengas y expliques todas esas cosas a lo que es el público, lo hagas con hechos y no nada más lo que tú deseas platicar. Yo voy a respaldar totalmente a todos mis amigos que he tenido toda mi vida desde mis 18 años de edad trabajando en downtown con mi mamá. Ella perdió la vida, pero yo seguí ese negocio con mis hijos. Yo pido que hoy mismo decidan ustedes abrir esa calle. Ustedes nos causaron un daño tan feo y solamente lo que hiciste fue seguir faltándonos el respeto y para acabarlo de fregar, ni atención le has dado a tu proyecto que nos hiciste tener que aceptar. Así es de que, por favor, agarra la onda.
Ms. Colio, City Manager's report.
No report.
Can I ask one question under City Manager's report?
Yes.
Fire station number 2, have the mobile units been installed yet?
IID has a little bit of delayed because we made some changes to the electrical panel to be able to have the travel trailers. So we're going back and forth. It's not really their fault. It's just the specs were changed. And so we received a notification that they're going to start installing the electrical, which is the only part that we need. The sewer system, it was already installed. It's just the electrical panel that it needs to be installed.
And the funding for the actual, not the mobile side, but the actual repair of half the station?
For the fire station, we received the contract from the Housing and Community Development last week for $611,000, an application that we submitted to the state to be able to rebuild the facility. So we couldn't proceed with the bidding documents because we needed to have the certainty that we're going to receive the funds because it has to have a specific language and it has to be approved by the state. So now that we received the contract, Ms. Falomir is already working on the bidding document to be able to go out to bid to start doing the repairs. Meanwhile, the travel trailers, electrical panel will be moving forward this coming week so that we can install the travel trailers. They have been already fixed because they were missing parts and they have air conditioning now, and so they're just going to install those.
And on fire station number 1, do you recall in the cost overruns how much this administration committed to making sure that fire station was opened, roughly?
$2 million.
$2 million.
Yes, the project was short $2 million.
And this administration had to find that money, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to commissioners' reports. Is there any commissioners present? Seeing none, we'll move on to
City
comisionado.
Manager report?
Se va a abstener. Yes.
I'm going to abstain. Unless you have a specific question.
Una pregunta específica.
A mí me hubiera gustado que le conteste a la señora Hurtado por qué le pasó ese incidente. O sea, no entiendo. ¿Por qué le dijeron lo de su licencia?
Yo ya platiqué con la señora Hurtado y le di toda la explicación de lo que sucedió.
Ah, pues no parece.
Lo que
porque la
pasa
señora
es de que el Departamento de Finanzas, nada más para que todo el mundo entienda el proceso, envía una lista de todas las licencias que no han sido pagadas al Departamento de Planeación. En el Departamento de Planeación tenemos lo que son los code enforcements, los dos individuos que se encargan de ir a tocar las puertas y asegurarse de que ese recibo se pague. Desgraciadamente tenemos un individuo que decidió no verificar, tomó una lista de hace 2 meses y decidió no verificar si se había pagado o no esa licencia. Y automáticamente fue y empezó a dar recibos. Recibimos otras quejas igual, porque no habían pagado la licencia. También hay que entender que la licencia se pagó en mayo 17, pero también hay documentación que hay que entregar para poder expedir la licencia, lo que es la hojita, que es la licencia de negocio. Yo personalmente me encargué de corregir el problema que esa persona cometió, porque cometió un error. Esa persona ya fue sancionada y yo personalmente le tomé una foto a ella diciéndole: aquí está tu tarjeta, discúlpanos que haya pasado esto, realmente tengo que ir a explicarle a otros 2 clientes también que sufrieron la misma situación y he prohibido dirección a los trabajadores para que antes de que salgan a la calle a hacer core enforcement, que verifiquen con el Departamento de Finanzas. Todo lo pusimos por escrito. Está disponible para Public Records para que vean la documentación.
No quiero entrar en conversación, pero estos errores burocráticos ¿Se dan a causa de falta de personal?
Yo pienso que es una combinación de falta de personal y falta de iniciativa.
Iniciativa también.
Así es.
Excelente.
Muy bien.
Muchas gracias. We've already ended public comment, unless it's on an item. Is it on an item? No. Desafortunadamente, ¿cómo se llama la señora?
Let her speak.
Okay, sure. Sure, adelante. Next time, please try to bring it up on time, please, por favor.
This hit me,
Sí.
because I'm a business owner.
Adelante, adelante.
Margarita Montes, 814 Fifth Street. Business owner, 38 años de negociante aquí en la ciudad de Calexico. Y, ¿cómo puede ser posible que, para empezar, la licencia se vence el 31 de enero? ¿Ok? Los tiene que pagar uno porque si no después, you get a penalty for not paying it on time. It took the city over 4 months for me to receive my actual business license. Okay? That shouldn't happen. That shouldn't happen. And it's not because of lack of personnel. Because I've been doing it for 38 years. So, I mean, please, you guys, including the city manager, everybody needs to get together and be on the same page and make this city profitable again. I feel for the downtown Rockwood merchants. I'm not there, but I'm a merchant, and I feel as a merchant, bad judgment, bad decisions to do. You don't close the doors and make those merchants suffer to pay rent for 9 months without selling anything. But the business license, I mean, come on, city. This is not a city that just opened last year. Okay, I've been doing this for 38 years, and it happens every single time. And every year, it's worse and worse and longer for me. I have to pay on the 31st of January, but I don't get my city until months later. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to city council comments. We start at our right with Mr. Garcia. Adelante.
I'll skip my comments just so we can move forward.
Ms. Romo.
Thank you. I recommend reading the legislative page. Es una página legislativa, así como se oye, for more information on the new medical district. Lo he estado leyendo, va paso por paso, pregunta por pregunta, encontronazos, de los que opinan a favor, de los que opinan en contra. Está fascinante esa página. Si quieren enterarse un poquito más de lo que es el distrito de salud, yo creo que hay que meternos a esa página. Es muy fácil meterse a esa página. Aquí la tengo. Es lecinfo.legislativo.ca.gov. Es todo. Y ahí van a encontrar, nomás le ponen la ley de lo que ustedes quieren, AB 918, y ahí va a salir todo. Vi las mismas preguntas, todo lo que dijeron aquí, ahí está, absolutamente todo, y más todavía. Yo sé que hay muchas preguntas y créanmelo que ahí las van a encontrar. Está fuerte, y lo que me llama la atención es que en las 4 asambleas, pues las 3 de 4 fueron unánimes. No más para que tengan una idea. Ok. Continúo. 247 years had passed since July 4, 1776, when it became very clear to us in this beautiful country that all human beings are created equal. Han pasado 247 años desde aquel 4 de julio de 1776, donde nos quedó muy claros a todos los habitantes de este hermoso país que todos los seres humanos son creados iguales. Así lo dijo desde aquel momento. Some people from the city of Calexico have expressed many offenses and lies against this cabildo. Okay? Now, I am going to express myself in Spanish. Algunas personas de la ciudad de Calexico han expresado muchas veces en todas las redes sociales, aquí mismo, ofensas y mentiras contra este cabildo. Con todos, a todos nos han, bueno, con excepción muchas veces de Camilo. Bueno, esto representa una parte de la ciudadanía, porque hablamos con mucha gente de la ciudadanía y no todos están de acuerdo. Pero me llamó la atención que algunas personas que veo yo que están en las redes sociales mencionan la palabra de Dios. Y yo les digo a ustedes, no podemos ser personas hipócritas, nadie, ni ustedes ni nosotros, porque sacan primero, como dice la palabra, ya que la usan, hay que sacar la viga que tenemos nosotros en cada hoja, en cada ojo, perdón, antes de juzgar a una persona, o antes de sacar la brizna, como dice la Biblia, del ojo de tu hermano o de otro ser humano, ¿no? Lean a Mateo 7, ahí lo pueden encontrar. Esto es importante, porque una ciudad que no tiene respeto, ¿verdad? Aquí, los 5 personas que estamos aquí, pues no estamos aquí de oquis, fuimos elegidos, no nomás por ustedes de este grupo, por toda la ciudadanía. Y algunos ya estuvieron aquí y ya se fueron. Hay muchas cosas que no se dicen, créanmelo, y lo digo a la ciudadanía, yo no tengo miedo, porque yo, gracias a Dios, me encomiendo a Dios cada que vengo aquí, porque sé la clase de personas que muchas veces vienen aquí. Hay que trabajar para bien de la ciudad, estoy de acuerdo con ustedes, hay que cerrar, hay que abrir la calle Raquet, ok, nada más quiero que les quede claro, yo estoy de acuerdo también con ustedes. Ahorita traigo aquí, en futura agenda, ver ese asunto. Le pienso pedir a la señora Colio que revise esa situación a ver si podemos abrir esa calle. Pero déjenme decirles que recuerden, esa calle se cerró por anteriores administraciones, que les quede claro. Nosotros nomás cuando llegamos aquí, venimos, a ver, fue anteriores administraciones que votaron por eso y venimos a trabajar sobre ese dinero. Sí, todo el mundo voltea a ver a la señora Marixa. Sí, ella también estuvo aquí y hubo muchas cosas en su tiempo también. Deberían de pedir récords del público para que les digan algunas cosas de aquellos tiempos. Lo pueden hacer. Por eso les digo, esa calle se cerró porque ya había ese proyecto aquí y teníamos el dinero aquí, ya había bajado ese dinero, ya se les había explicado, ok. Ahora, si no funcionó eso, yo estoy de acuerdo con ustedes, hay que verlo, hay que revisarlo, claro que sí, y lo vamos a hacer, que les quede claro, lo vamos a hacer. Vamos a ver nada más si caemos en alguna responsabilidad, porque ya aceptamos ese dinero, hay que ver qué tanto tiempo, aquí está el abogado, para ver de qué manera esa calle se puede abrir, aunque la pintura que esté ahí se quite, pero vamos a verlo, claro que sí, porque ustedes son la ciudadanía y ustedes son los que tienen sus negocios ahí, y yo los respeto muchísimo por eso. Y han seguido ahí y les agradezco. Ahora hay que ver, hay que rectificar. Para eso estamos aquí. No todo es mandato, señores. Hay cosas que se han hecho y que uno las tiene que seguir. Pero sí, estoy de acuerdo en que no siempre es el éxito. A veces hay errores y los tenemos que ver. Y tenemos que investigar si legalmente procede señor Acolio y abogado, después abrir esa calle. Claro que sí, estamos aquí para servirles y lo vamos a hacer, y lo vamos a estudiar y lo vamos a traer a la mesa, se los prometo, ¿ok? Pero sí necesito respeto. Miren, por ejemplo, esas risas, ¿ven? Por ejemplo, ahorita el mayor a todo mundo le da la oportunidad de hablar. Yo lo veo, véanse, fíjense, a todo mundo, hasta la señora que quiso hablar hasta lo último. Pero ¿qué pasa? La señora Marixa, que ya estuvo aquí muchos años, empieza a gritar. ¿Por qué? ¿Qué es eso? Dele la oportunidad, no, ya usted no está aquí sentada. Dele la oportunidad al mayor para que dirija esta reunión. A nadie le ha negado, a nadie que yo desde que esté aquí he visto que le haya negado a alguien. Entonces, no necesitan tener que gritar para que le den la oportunidad de que hable, ¿ok? No, señora, yo con usted, mire, Dios guarde, porque Dios guarde con usted. Que Dios la bendiga, porque aquí Calexico necesitamos trabajar juntos. Eso es lo que necesitamos hacer. Lo demás que si me visto o no me visto, o si traigo los pelos sueltos o lo que sea, eso no es importante. Es más importante cuando las personas que están aquí respetamos a ustedes, ustedes respetan a estas personas, respetamos a la administración. Claro, tenemos que hablar. Por favor, yo les pido nada más respeto y vamos a trabajar todos. Y a todos vamos a escuchar con mucho afecto. Digan lo que digan. Perdón por haberme extendido, mayor.
No se preocupe. Muchas gracias, señor Moreno.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of things. I had a conversation with Mr. Where is he? He's not here today. He's gone. Mr. Gonzalez. In terms of the crime prevention program that we had at the Calexico Police Department many years ago, and he did bring up to he would like to have that program reinstated. So with I told him I was going to speak on his behalf, and I am going to ask Mrs. Coley if we can potentially have a meeting on that, or potentially bring that back now that we have Mr. Chief Legaspi available. He's very familiar with that program. When I was at the police department, I ran that program there. It was very successful. Perhaps we can bring it back, and I don't know that. I don't know if we can.
Which
it's a crime
program?
prevention program at the police department.
The neighborhood watch?
Well, programs like Neighborhood Watch, actually downtown merchants can benefit from that in terms of safety and all that. It also, when you have the criminal element show up at a downtown, they see that it's disrepair, it's dirty, they can say, you know what, I can do any crime what I want here. There's no police officers here. I mean, not to take anything from the police officers, I know you're busy, but it addresses those issues at downtown as well and throughout the city. Perhaps I know Ms. Romo and I had those conversations before. Perhaps she can join me in that endeavor in the future. We can address that.
We can take some examples from the
Right.
city of El Centro maybe and find out how many officers are needed for that program and how much funding is needed as
Sure.
well. Okay.
And then we bring it back to the citizens so you guys can know exactly what we're doing to help with crime prevention throughout the city, especially downtown. Okay. The other thing, it's the Imperial County Transportation Committee. I know Mr. Ureña serves there as a member. And my question I think we haven't got the monies that were supposedly, because they're still on hold, or?
I'll address it in my comments.
Okay. Yeah, that'll give us an update as far as if that money's coming in, so we can hire more traffic controllers, because it is essential that we have those elements there directing traffic on both sides of Chavez and Imperial County to address the backups there. That's one part of the solution. Not all solution, but it's part of the solution. I am in agreement with the citizens in opening up Rockwood and 2nd Street. I think when I voted on that way back when was, my recollection, I was in favor because it was potentially, I know one thing we had to spend this money, we painted the street, and I think because of the type of paint and how the public works was able to paint that we can have traffic and people step on it, it's not a problem. I think if we propose that, probably potentially investigate research on that, and I will join also with Ms. Romo if he wants to. I will help her with that. Potentially look into it, open it up at least temporarily. Because you have spoken, and I've always said that it's here where you guys come here and tell us what you guys need, right? I know, Mr. Ali, I get your videos and your texts almost every day. I really appreciate that. I mean, you've really been fighting for that, and I appreciate that.
I'm sorry what I'm doing because I have to show you what's going on.
Right.
We pay for it. I mean, we are the ones suffering. Not just me, including the ambulance.
Right. So we heard you, Mr. Ali. We heard you, Mr. Ali. We heard you, and we're going to do our best to address that. If that's doable or not, like I said, no promises, but we certainly have the ability to do that now for you. Okay. The other thing, it's the downtown alley cleanup. I know we did contract. I think they were supposed to assign a person, right? One or two persons to clean downtown the alley, especially. What happened to
So
that?
according to that contract, you only have $10,000, I believe, Ms. Falomir, $10,000 set aside to contract someone to clean. $10,000 a year.
So
It's not going to take you that far. So let me clarify something for everybody. Everybody keeps complaining about downtown. I have been there at 6 o'clock in the morning. I have photos taken at 6 o'clock in the morning. It's clean. But what happens is, as soon as people start coming across the border, it's becoming a mess. When there's population and traffic, it's becoming a mess. You can't help it. It's a border city. But I went myself personally, I walk on the street. I know all the streets now because I walk on the streets. I went today in the morning, and it was clean. But during the day, something happens, and you start seeing trash everywhere. The alleys normally are closed. The gates are closed so that people don't get into the alleys. But when it's the day for trash collection, they have to open the gates. It's impossible for the city to keep officers keeping the homeless getting into the alleys while we're waiting for the trash collection. It's impossible. We only have 2 or 3 officers. Mr. Legaspi, Chief Legaspi won't let me lie. It's true. We're limited in stuff. But the streets are clean in the morning. I invite everybody to go at 6 o'clock in the morning, and you'll see it because it's clean in the morning. Yes, I get it. I have been gone in the afternoon, and it's a mess. You can't help it.
Can I tell you something?
Yes, sir.
Can we give to everybody have his own trash? Every business in the alley have his own trash. Can we give a notice? If I see something missing, I see something on the floor, I'm gonna give you a ticket. You come in the morning, you can see it's terrible.
I'll be happy to get tickets.
They can go through so many boxes in the street, but you have trash container, you have to say, damn recycle. Just put the employee come in, throw it away, throw it away. You see in the morning, it's terrible. Look at my side between Jack in the Box all the way to the end.
I get it.
Look
I
how
see
clean
it.
is it?
Yes.
Exactly like, oh.
Ali, let me interrupt. Well, you and I will have a talk, okay? I'll go to your shop and we'll talk. Oh, it's not the time right now. Just.
I'm not in disagreement with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you in regards that it gets messy. I'm with you.
For legal reasons, we do have to come back
Yes.
to
Right.
the item at hand. See?
They're only clean in the morning, right? So you're telling me you clean here in the morning, and if there's a spill, you're gonna leave it here in the city, inside or outside? You're gonna leave it there the whole day until the following day? No,
They do
right?
the
You
rounds.
clean it. So why do they clean it only on the mornings, not during the whole day? Why don't they have people during, like 2, 3 o'clock? I know it's hot, but go and pick up.
The answer is money. It's much easier to clean a spill than a hold down job. That's the basic answer. But we really have to get. We will get there. We really have to continue, and then I'll speak on that. No te preocupes.
Thanks. That's all I have. Thank you.
Adelante, señor Manzanares.
Thank you. As we all know, the lack of cleanliness in downtown, in our parks, in our alleyways, is strictly correlated to the lack of personnel in our public works department. So ese departamento, which is extremely understaffed like every other department, is just as crucial as public safety. Porque when you come here and you talk like it's not safe in downtown porque los focos no sirven, that's public works. Cuando no, and I'm going to speak a little bit about lighting right now. When you talk about que los callejones están bien sucios, and they are. I've gone there at 2, 3 p.m. and yeah, it's a mess. Y luego con el aire, sometimes eso lo lleva todo al promenade and it looks horrible. So again, all that son lack of resources and money for the public works department, which I believe you're going to talk about right now, so I'm not going to go into it. I did go this weekend, last week, and I visited Nosotros Park once in the week, and I was there around 6 p.m. I stayed there, I was walking, talking with people, and then I realized that as it was getting darker, no lights were turning on, not a single one. So I decided I'm going to stay until it gets todo oscuro. And not a single light in the entire Nosotros Park was on. So, and it's really sad porque there was some teenagers playing basketball there, casi en lo oscuro. There was a couple of families like watching their children playing like the playgrounds that we have there, alusándolos with the flashlight of their phones, ¿verdad? So when we talk about public safety, that also involves lighting. We have just received so many reports of people quejándose de ese parque, Nosotros Park, which is undeniably the biggest park in Calexico, and it's unacceptable that it's in complete darkness. It's unsafe, and because of that, all these people are coming over and tagging all over the place because they feel free to do so porque they're in complete darkness. Who's going to catch them, right? So I wanted to make sure that that side of the city, which is completely almost neglected, gets its fair share. We talked last time about the budget where the Cordova Park, the Heber, the Crummett Parks were going to receive some allocations from ARPA, pero nada to Nosotros Park, which right now as speak, if you go, it's probably going to be in complete darkness. The citizens there told me at least a year and a half que no prenden los focos en la noche, right? Unless there's like the Calexico Little League playing baseball games, and entonces prenden only that side of the court. So I would like to suggest, since we are not going to use that $500,000 that were primarily allocated toward Fire Station number 2, no se van a ocupar ahí siempre, but we owe it to the citizens of that side of Calexico de que ese dinero se quede en ese lado de la ciudad and invested in Nosotros Park for proper lighting, porque not only was the lighting in Nosotros Park not working, but the brand new Riverwalk pathway, que nuevecito con luces solares, esas tampoco servían. Not even those, and those are brand new. So, just to put it in perspective, Alex Rivera and American Legion baseball field, both of them were allocated $45,000 from ARPA, which is really nothing. So I want those $500,000 that were going to go originally to that side of the city to stay in that side of the city, invested in lighting in parks so that people can actually play and use their parks as they were meant to and not in complete darkness. Pero sí, it wasn't only one day that I went because I couldn't believe it. I was like, maybe some malfunction, I don't know, a lo mejor es una de muchas. I went 2 more times and it was the same thing. So that park is in complete darkness. It's an injustice to the people of that city that's always been left behind. The Heber Park, mucha promesa, but it's still a long ways. Right now, we just need these parks to have safe lighting. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Mr. Manzanares. I'll try not to delay my comments too much. We're celebrating Independence Day. Happy 5th of July to everybody, which is like the new Monday when this happens, right, to everybody. Happy Independence Day to this great nation that allows us to disagree, to bicker, but still be creating a more perfect union where out of many we are one. As it is in all of our coins, y pluribus unum, out of many we are one, and in God we trust. We celebrate America for many things, but primarily the freedom to express and to disagree and still be creating a more perfect union. We have a gift for the police department, who for many years has been deprived of their right to express their patriotism. The police department has not had a good American flag for many years, and today we want to present that. Before we do and before we stand to honor such an important symbol on such an important day, let's remember the words of the great song, God Bless America. If you know it, you're allowed to sing with me, of course. I'm not a very good singer myself, so intentamos de nuevo. Tenemos el privilegio, obviamente, we have the privilege of celebrating two great nations, two representations, two democracies in the Western world, and today the spotlight is on America. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans white with foam, God bless America, my home, sweet home. Let us rise with our right hand over our heart as we pledge allegiance. If Chief Legaspi and the police department, as well as Chief Ainsa, could come to the front as well. Police on this side, fire on this side. We will stand up and honor the flag of this nation. Vice Mayor Romo, if you could please hold this flag. Let us press our right hand with pride over our heart, and let us pledge allegiance to this great nation that we serve every day, united as one. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Chief Legaspi. May God bless America. Our flagpole here at City Hall also has a pretty old flag. We've received a gift from the Consulado de Mexico to raise a brand new flag here at our City Hall. May God bless America. And moving on to my, yes sir, moving on to my very brief comment. Some concerns were raised by the community at this meeting and in previous meetings and online as well, and I would like to answer to some of those. General sentiments, starting with the financial presentation for the end of the budget year. As we all know, the presentation is given at the last regular meeting before July so that we close the fiscal year in July. This year was no exception. On June 15th, the budget was presented in full by Director Fonseca in English and in Spanish. It was roughly an hour and 30 minutes presentation and some brief discussion by City Council. No one showed up for the June 15th meeting, unfortunately, despite it being a regular meeting, despite it being on the regular meeting space where we always talk about the year-end budget. I am happy you're here. I'm happy that you're taking consideration of our city budget. Just so you know, it comes every 3 to 4 months, and it's the meeting before that fourth month. In the case of the last one in the year, it's always the last June meeting where we have our year-end budget. And especially if you've been here for a couple years, we should be accustomed to those practices. The full presentation is still available online by Director Fonseca in English and in Spanish. We covered fire station number 2. We have a brief delay from IID, but the funds have been allocated to fix fire station number 2. I have been requesting community participation. I'm saddened to see Ms. Flores, or Commissioner Flores has left. I've been fighting on behalf of this council and on behalf of the citizens of this city, for more funding for traffic controllers. Ever since the pandemic, we have had chaos on our streets. Traffic control costs in 2015 were $470,000. We're now getting close to $1 million a year just on traffic control. It's unacceptable. It's one of the big reasons we don't have some of the many things that we want to have. And we know that even though we're spending close to $1 million, traffic is not controlled. There's not enough staffing in this department. There is not enough staffing in any department. Administration and finances over the course of these last 8-9 years have taken the biggest cuts, followed by our emergency responders that were forced to take a 30% pay cut, and I'm talking about the police. When stuff hit the fan, the first responders, and specifically police, took a 30% pay cut that just this year, barely, they're about to recover, if I'm not mistaken. Finally, after 8 or 9 years. And it's sad because this suffering was not necessary. For the record, I do have all of the budgets in my email box. I've always had them. My concern that was expressed on the internet was that the budgets prior to 2015 are not easily available to the community. If you go to the Calexico City Hall website and you go under departments, financial services, and adopted budgets, let me know if you find a budget before 2015. The answer is no. No one has put those budgets out for the public, and that's of concern to me. Obviously, as the mayor of the city, I know where to find them, but that's not my concern. My concern is that you know where to find them, and that you can have them with you in an easy fashion, that you don't have to come and make a public records request to receive them, to form a better opinion, so again, we can have better decision making. I keep showing this graph, and this graph is capital. This graph is the last 14 years of the Calexico General Fund. This right here is what funds your police, your fire, your public works, your planning department, your recreation department, your parks. Everything that is staff comes out of these combined general budgets. And if you look at it closely, in 2013, we were making close to $7 million a year. Then we lost $3.5 million. Then we lost another $3.5 million, 2014, 2015. Then another $3 million in 2016. 2017, another, still in the red, $3 million. All the way until 2020 when we finally broke ground and got even. Now, obviously, and like Ms. Flores has come up here and said, we're a Calexico that wants to think forward, not wants to think about the past. So let's not think about the past too much, but let's hold it with us. Because if I was a council person in 2013 and something was happening in the city, whether it's my fault, whether it's Juana's fault, or whoever's fault it is, you have to do something about it. And the decisions that were made were very clear. Either we can fire people, we can cut police pay 30%, or we can be honest with the people and say that we will need more money to make sure that we don't have a crisis in our city. Previous city councils, instead of being honest with the community, they took from Measure H which is supposed to fund your police and your fire and your recreation, started taking from Measure H to make up these holes at the tune of $1 million a year. Y si no me creen, aquí está. Still, for the next 7 years, projected to take $1 million every single year from your police, your fire, and your recreation. Like I said, we don't have to argue why or whose fault it is, but we should be worried about what was done and where we're at today and what has to happen in the future and immediate future to correct this. The city does not have enough staff. El Centro has 300 employees. We have 150. The choices that were made by last city councils were clear. Cut police pay, fire police officers, fire firefighters, fire administration, fire the city engineer, fire planning department, take from Measure H. This administration is tasked, like this community correctly says, to correct this. And we do have some proposals that seek to do exactly that. We hope to count on your support if you would like to see more police, more fire, more planning, more public works, parks, because the realities of today is that if we want something, we have to cut from somewhere else. That's where we're at. That's how much money is in the bank accounts. And as the projections show right now, we show a recovery of 5 to 7 years, which will be up to the Calexico citizens if that's what we want to wait, or if we want to vote on something that fixes the problem this year and next year. This graph is not the entirety of the city. It behooves us to look into this with more detail, but it behooves us more to fix the problem and start talking about the solution as a community and start talking about it for next year, not in 5 or 7 years. I am encouraged by your participation, by your concern for this community. But I also want to see proposals, solutions. I know this council will bring proposals. I know I will bring proposals to correct this. I hope I find it in you to support all our departments, police, fire, planning, public works, administration, finance, code enforcement, so that we can recover next year what is the Calexico that we know. And just so that you can see, this budget doesn't even recover what we had in 2014. It's $3 million short of 2013. We need roughly $3 million to get this city back up and running in the way that people know it. Otherwise, there's just not enough bodies in all of these departments to provide the services. It's unfortunate. This didn't have to happen, but the cuts unfortunately were made. Comments were made about the bid. The bid stopped collecting per merchant requests, stopped collecting fees in 2020 due to the pandemic. We've noticed the financial hardships, so we haven't collected any more fees, and that's why the bid has not been active. The Chamber of Commerce, we needed roughly $100,000, $150,000 to fix up the chamber building. We would have had to cut from somewhere else. If that is still a priority from the community, we either need more money, or if you would like to kindly tell us what other department we should cut to make sure that we can fix that building for that nonprofit organization. We have some good news. We were awarded $12.8 million from a highly competitive federal grant from the Biden administration for infrastructure across the country. It was a grant application from the Imperial County Transportation Commission. Only 8 cities in California had good enough grant applications to receive this financing, and the city of Calexico, with the partnership of ICTC, was one of them. We received $12.8 million in a competitive nationwide grant application, beating out cities across the country, thanks to the leadership at ICTC and the partnership with the City of Calexico. We additionally received $2 million from the City of California to address the migrant situation so that we can put back the $200,000 as promised to the ARPA priorities that were already financed and were already established. And let's not we forget, we also received $12 million to get the New River project, an environmental project from the state of California. The extra $12 million that were obtained by the lobbying efforts of this council. 18.5, I'm sorry, I cut you short a good $5 million. But the point is, this council has been doing and has been successful at obtaining millions of dollars to fix some of our biggest issues in ways that previous councils could not do so, even with $7 million in their bank accounts. With half of their budget, we're bringing down millions. I want to have the same opportunity, and I'm sure this council wants to have the same opportunity that the council of 2013 did to do good things for the city. I want a full police force. I want a full fire department, full paramedics, a planning department that has enough people. I want Monday through Friday and Saturday even if it's possible. I want the exact same things that everybody in the city of Calexico wants because I live here. I also live here. And I want those same things. I want traffic to be solved. But now as a council person, I have to come to the citizens and say, this is what I need to make that happen. And this is unfortunately what has happened. We've lost north of $10 million over an 8-year period. And the choice back then was to cut the police. Was your salary cut?
Yes, there was.
How much?
30%.
What's up with that? And that cost us even more. We just paid off that lawsuit, actually. This is the reality. I want to work with you. I love you just as much as any other citizen of the city of Calexico, even if we don't see eye to eye over something that I am, which is a transgender person. Let's work on the issues. Let's focus on the issues. Let's stay on the issues. Let's get these proposals baked up and ready for 2024. And let's bring our city back to where it's supposed to be next year, not in 5 years. Thank you so much for your understanding. May God continue to bless America, our democracy, and the decisions that we make here in this council. Muchas gracias. Moving on to the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve?
There's a motion by Mr. Moreno to approve, a second by Mr. Garcia. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
Items pulled from consent for discussion. Item number 13, adopt a resolution ratifying a grant application in the amount of $274,290.30, accepting funding from the California Department of Highway Patrol, authorizing the city manager to execute grant agreements and any documents related to the implementation of the Cannabis Tax Fund Grant CTFGP program for fiscal year 23 and 24. Interim Police Chief, would you like to discuss?
Thank you, Mayor, council members, city manager, and attorney. First of all, I would like to thank Ms. Colio for having us. We started working on this grant a while ago. Officer Sean Sundal is the author who put this grant together. But recently, we've been getting together with Ms. Colio regarding to working on more grants. So on a monthly basis, we're going to be working on more and more grants for our city. Now, as you all know, the city of Calexico is a border town, And we get a lot of traffic coming from Mexicali, Mexico into our border. And in the traffic, from here to Mexicali, they visit bars, lots of consumption of alcohol. And our officers are constantly responding to the port of entry, reference to people driving under the influence of alcohol. And a lot of times they get arrested. I know that Javier Moreno used to be a traffic officer, and he knows what I'm talking about. So with this grant, it's going to put officers on a saturated patrol to alleviate this. Now, as we all know, or if you don't know, driving under the influence is very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. So we were recently, or we're about to get awarded $274,290.30. And it was a very competitive grant, very competitive. It was a $13 million grant that was posted out there. And Officer Sundahl was successful in hopefully achieving that grant. Now, with that grant, as I stated before, driving under the influence is dangerous. And I mean, we don't want our family members to be walking in the streets, going to different areas on a Friday or Saturday night. Family member, my daughter who is 16 years old, happens to be going to a party. And then all of a sudden I get that call that she passed away because some drunk driver hit her. So this grant will put police officers out there to work on saturated patrol, patrolling the areas. They will also be responding to traffic collisions in regarding to evaluate the situation, whether the individual had been drinking under the influence of alcohol. And this is overtime for the officers that are under the grant. So these officers are going to be paid. We're going to have more officers out on the streets on overtime under this grant. Now, with this grant, will also assist us in many projects, such as educating. We're going to be educating the public regarding to, don't drink and drive. Also, we'll be obtaining a signage board that'll say, don't drink and drive, and other messages. And like I mentioned before, it is a saturation patrol. We're not going to be parked in front of a bar. We're not going to be parked in front of a cannabis dispensary building. We're going to be roaming around, driving around, saving lives, which is very, very important. So in 2020, within our border town, there is a large density of bars throughout. It was cited that there's been an increase of DUI arrest from 2020 and on. 50% of I'm going to go to the cannabis portion of it. 57% of the licensed marijuana dispensaries is here in Calexico. Yes, some people may say smoking marijuana or still smoking marijuana is legal. Yes, it is legal. So is drinking alcohol. But you can't be driving under the influence. So I don't want people to think that, oh, you know what, we're going to be parked in front of a bar or in front of a licensed marijuana dispensary. We'll be roaming around. So that is, and also we will be hopefully receiving a 4x4 truck, Chevy Tahoe, through the grant, and this will assist us on off-road contacts. Obviously, when people are driving to the influence and they want to drive into the canal banks or whatnot, we're following them and make contact and do a field sobriety examination. That's how we determine whether they're under the influence of alcohol, drugs, or whatever they're consuming or smoking at the time. Like I said, it saves lives. Backfill, as I mentioned, overtime will be a part of this, and an electric signage board. So we're going to be, like I said, what's important is hopefully council approves this. It will save lives. It will save lives. And I really want to push that, because there's been a lot of accidents. You know, Calexico, people driving to Mexicali, coming back, all of a sudden, you know, you get that call, we get that call. And we don't want to get that call anymore. We want to be out there and enforce the law regarding to driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs.
This is such an important program. I
Yes.
mean, I think we've all signaled, and especially during the pandemic where people started drinking more,
The stress
people think that the border is going to catch all the drunk drivers, and it just doesn't.
No.
You
No.
know, and it bleeds into our city. Fire has to be dispatched, police has to dispatch, and then we pay for it.
Yes, yes. And, you know, it just, people just don't think, you know, and we see it all the time. Come on a ride-along on a Friday night, on a Saturday night.
Yeah, me imagino.
And you'll see the contacts we make. Oh, you know what, I can drink, I'm okay, whatnot. And all of a sudden,
yes,
your daughter, your son, your wife, your husband died because of a traffic accident.
Thank you so much for clarifying to the community as well that it's not just gonna be make people afraid to go to bars or like dispensaries.
No. We're not gonna be parked at a bar.
That it's also gonna be in the community as well, like everywhere. Because I can think of at least one instance, high-profile case where it happened in a residential zone. So thank you so much for clarifying that for the community.
You're welcome, thank you.
Thank you.
Just one, well, yes, I'll second that too. Anyways, but Chief Legaspi, thank you for your presentation. And would this also cover calls at the port of entry, or just a driving patrol preventive? Or will you all be the program, because it's DUIs and all alcohol?
We'll be responding to the port of entry.
Okay, that's well. So this will suffice that. Okay.
Oh, great.
Yeah, okay, that's all.
Motion Romo,
I'll
second
second.
Moreno. Any comments, Mr. Garcia? No? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Item number 14, thank you, Chief Legaspi.
Thank you.
Authorize city manager to sign professional agreements for on-call street lighting maintenance and repair services in downtown Calexico between the City of Calexico and Advanced Lighting Services Incorporated. Director Palomir, adelante.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Back in December of 2022, the City Council approved a recommendation from the Business Improvement District to allocate $15,000 to repair lights in the downtown area. City Council also approved the allocation of an additional $35,000 from the ARPA for the downtown light repairs. In February, we did a request for proposal for on-call street light maintenance and repair services just for the downtown. Unfortunately, we didn't receive no bids back in March, so we contacted a couple of the electrical companies and asked what was the reason that they didn't submit a proposal. They said that they didn't have the equipment to have the 24-hour callback notice. So we went ahead and revised the RFP and removed that section and bid it out again. And we got a proposal from Advanced Lighting Services. So we come before you to award an agreement with them so they can assist us in preparing and replacing the lights in the downtown area.
Thank you, Ms. Palomir. Any motion?
I'll make a motion to approve. Just one question. When you say downtown, which is the geographics? What street coverage downtown?
The downtown would be 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and then it's from Imperial to Heber.
Okay.
Awesome.
Good.
So,
That's-
question,
adelante,
questions and comments.
Comments, adelante.
I think this is great. I think it's long overdue. And going back to some of the comments that were made earlier, I think we really need this, but also we need a plan, for the lighting itself, because I know the lighting that exists there is, something that, we are responsible for the upkeep. Instead of, in going back to, I know unfortunately, Mr. Gonzalez left, Director Gonzalez left, and he has been talking about how can we be more strategic in putting lighting that will be long-term, instead of being kind of like what we have right now, where we are only the ones that can touch it. I mean, I agree with this item, and I truly support it, but also we need to have a plan as to how this is going to be long term. That's on one, and I know that I'm going to go back to the comment that Councilmember Manzanares made earlier about the lights at, Nosotros Park. And I know that that's an ongoing issue with the lights because, way back, if you recall, I always had, questions about that, lights being off or out. And every time that they were out, we came to find out that it was due to, vandalism.
It's vandalism, yes.
Right?
Unfortunately, Nosotros Park and the Indian River Walkway project is being vandalized on a daily basis. The city manager recently approved a purchase order to purchase the wiring, and then I have staff who are trying to build cages that go where the wiring is at, so we can try to at least prevent a portion of the vandalism.
Yeah. So again, just to make this an encompassing, proposal, even though again, the item before us is to approve for downtown.
This is just downtown, but we'll look into other options.
But let's look into a more long-term, solution for the parks, and not just, all the parks, right? Because, we're kind of like playing, a game where, catch up, all the time. And we need to have a plan that is sustainable, that is right there when it's needed, and if it has to go through a company, right, then so be it, because I know we're short-staffed, but we can't really let our parks and our citizens without lights because it's safety. It's a matter of us being responsible and accountable. So.
Remember, you have one plan, no?
Well, right now, we just have one electrician, but I think it's a good pilot program, because we're right now just gonna dedicate it for downtown, but if this contract works out, maybe we can also do another contract or RFP for parks, and then, try to fix other lights in the streets.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Councilmember Garcia. Before we call the vote, I just want to make a quick comment of appreciation, and I feel like, our directors, each of them go through their unique challenges, but the challenges that you face as the Public Works Director to create so many RFPs on so many topics: water, parks, streets, the lighting, so many things that your department is like the size of Texas, right? We said that before, and it's true. You don't have a city engineer. You have to, every time that you need something in engineering, you have to also make a contract, to contract a service, sometimes to go contract another service. And it costs a lot of money. It's so taxing that it's just you. How many people do you have in your department to help you with RFPs? Sometimes I see you helping other directors on their RFPs because you're so good at it.
Yeah, right now it's just me, but with the approval of the budget, I will be able to get a public works analyst and also some more help in our engineering department.
And a
So
city
we'll
engineer.
be working with human resources on that.
Yes, and we look forward to those days. I think that's why we made those allocations. And until those people come in the office, right, the money's there, but when they come to the office, and until that day, I have to send my appreciation because it's not easy.
Thank
Te
you.
agradezco.
Thank you very much.
With that, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Or second by Roma. Motion by Moreno, second by Roma. Aye.
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 Okay, motion passes unanimously. Okay, moving on to appointment of city council by one resident commissioner to the Calexico Housing Authority. Applications, do we have those on file? Just one application, Mr. Acevedo. Does council want to proceed with this appointment, or do we want to table this item? For Mr. Acevedo.
That's Mario Acevedo?
Mario, sí.
He's a resident there. He's already been there. His term expired, right? Or is it? Yeah. Yeah.
I'll vote to reappoint him
Yeah.
if that's within the bylaws,
Right.
James
I'll second that.
The Housing Authority has separate bylaws. There's a second to approve Mr. Acevedo. Garcia and Mr. Moreno seconds. Mario Acevedo to be appointed to the Housing Commission. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes 5-0. Last item, appointments by mayor and council members to the Community Services Commission. Do we have any applications for those? I believe we saw one from Pat Ureña, who is not my family member. There was a divorce in the family, unfortunately.
So, question on that. I know that I have already made my appointment to this commission, but now it's also part of the council that we can just accept, some of those applications and make the appointment, and it will go through the council, right? Because it has
Yes.
gone through the 45-day period. So with that, if that's the case, I would like to appoint Ms. Pat Ureña. Again, no relation to
Myself.
per your,
Yes,
so
for my surname. Is that the only application?
there are two more, I think three total.
What? Uh-huh.
Patricia Ureña, Oswaldo Baeza Herrera, and José Alberto Martínez Aguirre.
José Alberto Martínez.
How many positions are still yet to be filled for that commission?
Only three fields.
Four.
And we have 4 seats.
Two at large.
At large.
2 at large.
So 3 available, and then we'll leave 1 vacancy, right? If we appoint 3, so. yeah,
So
one motion.
you are motioning Pat Ureña for the vacancy on the council side?
Yes.
Yes.
Can we just put them all in one, or just one?
I mean, we
That's what
can
I
go
was
ahead.
thinking.
Yeah,
I
right?
mean,
Because there's 3.
¿Quién de nosotros no ha puesto a alguien en esa comisión? Yo no he puesto a nadie. No has puesto?
Yeah,
¿Tú
yes.
has puesto a alguien?
Yeah.
Yes. ¿Tienes alguien? ¿Tienes alguien? I'll put, well, let's vote on this one first. Motion for Pat Ureña, is there a second?
But want you to put Ureña and the rest.
We'll put them individually.
Okay, got it. Okay, I'll second it. Got it.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Mr. Manzanares?
Aye.
Aye. Pat Ureña is appointed. Mr. Manzanares, do you want to make your appointment?
Osvaldo Baeza Herrera.
And what was Mr. Herrera, or the other one, the third one that was left out? Okay, Jose Alberto will be my commissioner, per the application. I did miss a public comment that I need to read, and I'll go ahead and read that right now. Ms. Gabby, do you have another copy of that public comment? Here it is, found it. Apologies, I'm taking this out of order, but all public comments have to be read. It's from Ms. Julie Ramírez, está en español y se los leo próximamente. Antes que nada, quiero aclarar que pertenezco a la comunidad LGBTQ+. Soy una persona de familia y amigos, amigas, que también forman parte de. Estamos profundamente avergonzados de las acciones de él o la alcaldesa, que al final del día incitan al odio. Tal vez esté luchando por una buena causa, pero el modo en que lo hace no es correcto. Imponer y priorizar no es correcto. Nuestra sexualidad no debería ser asunto gubernamental. La sexualidad es algo hermoso y personal, tal cual lo es la religión. Queremos igualdad y respeto para todos y la misma energía que cualquier causa de celebración. No nos uses para ganar simpatía, no te apoyamos. Y la prueba está en las pocas personas que te siguieron el día del alza de la bandera. Estás en este asiento para servirle a Calexico y no para cumplir tus caprichos personales. Así que por favor comienza a cumplir tus promesas de campaña, que son la razón por cual estás ahí sentado. Muchas gracias, señora Julie. Moving on to future agenda items, do council members have any agenda items? Sí, señora Roma, adelante.
Ms. Colio, can you present us for our next meeting a recommendation on Rockwell Street? Should it be open or should it be left closed, please?
Okay. Mr. Garcia?
No.
Mr. Moreno?
Yes. I want to work with Ms. Claudio through the crime prevention that I mentioned. We work on that with the police department, the crime prevention program. At your earliest convenience, I think Mrs. Romo will join me on that, I think. She had agreed to that. Also, the comment Mr. Virgen said, I don't know whether miscommunication or what happened, but I want to invite him again Send him an official letter, I don't know, send him an official mail, the mayor can do a letter, I don't know.
A letter to
So he can come and give us updates as this thing develops further. Especially the projects they got going over there on Mary Avenue. Okay? And I don't know how we're going to address that, because he did make that comment, and I wasn't very, so I don't know whether miscommunications, I've asked that many meetings before.
So they were here, I want to say before December last year, to make a presentation about the facility that they're
Right,
building.
in general, with the project, especially those,
But I think what he was referring is specifically to the AB 918. I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
And this is the first time that
and
that I
if-
have
right,
this
and
request.
then if you do communicate, would you send me a copy, you'll send all the city councilmen a copy that you did communicate with that message, that we want him to come over here and give us an update.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So do you want them to come back again?
Well, yeah,
for
because
another
this
update?
is going to develop. We had a lot of questions on AB 98. I don't want to put the, I wonder what their take is on this, because they're out the health district, and we do give them that money. And then we do have a project at Mary Avenue that we want to know what's going on with that too.
Okay.
I
Sounds
know
good.
we got some information here at the last moment, some change orders. That's kind of, what's up with that too. So things like
Okay.
that. Not to put him on a spot, just to report to us.
Okay.
A standing report by Mr. Virgen from, or just Heffernan Memorial in general. Mr. Manzanares?
Thank you. If we could just follow up on the Nosotros Park lighting, I know I brought it up in Camilo as well, but you know how this thing goes, and it falls through the crack, and like we have right now a population of Calexico that has no lighting in Calexico's biggest park. Also, if we can have an update for the community as well on the one-time homebuyer program, that is, I know that it's currently
We're not
frozen.
eligible. We're not eligible.
Sí, pero I want the community to know por qué. So if we can just have a brief update on eso.
Okay.
I know, as painful as it is, but it's transparency. And also if we can, due to the community's demands, if we can actually invite SCAG to provide a presentation on the promenade. I know that it was a pilot program, so the current version that you guys see right now, aunque nomás son árboles y sillas, is not the finished product, it's the pilot program. They're never going to invest 100% of what they have on a pilot, knowing that we can take it away. So if we can just have SCAG come over and present if they're going to provide us with more funding, what does the end product look like for the community as well, please.
If I can just make one last comment, not that,
Of course.
Councilman
As long as
Manzanares
it's a
mentioned SCAG.
As long as it's a request, it has to be a request for
Okay.
an item. Yes.
No, I was just going to say something about SCAG.
No, we'll bring it up when
Okay,
SCAG
that's
comes
fine.
up. Okay, but it will be an item. I just have one request. Did you get it?
Yes, it's got presentation for prominent.
Okay.
Whether potential additional funding or pilot program.
Okay.
That's it.
I just have one request. I know you don't have a lot of staff, so it's not like to do it, but I would like to see what the path forward looks like for giving out the essential worker pay. I want to know what council and administration has to do to get that out the door. It's been sitting for a couple months, and we kind of at least have to start thinking about the laundry list to move that forward. With that, I would seek,
We're going back to closed session.
before we go to closed session, can we authorize another hour? Can this council authorize it up until 10 p.m.? Because we're going to go past 9:30, right?
What closed session?
Or is not necessary for closed session?
I mean, it will still be, you will still need to adopt that motion, but obviously we're not sure how long closed session is going to last.
We'll just adopt it in there.
I mean, you can, in consideration of that, you could adopt it now, say to the extent we need to go by beyond 9:30, then council can approve that now.
I'll make the motion to extend the meeting till 10 p.m.
To 10 p.m.? Is there a second? Second by Romo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting extends to 10, and this closed session is adjourned at 9:05. Thank you for joining us.
Open.
9:55 p.m. Any announcements?
Correct. We have no reportable actions from closed session. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Campos. We are adjourning this meeting at 9:55 p.m.
Do we make a motion to?
A motion to adjourn?
Motion to,
So moved.
to adjourn the meeting.
Moved by Mr. Camilo, second by Mr. Moreno. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
9:55. 56.
Thank you.
All right. Ya tienes tu sartén de